As we live through a global pandemic, is free market capitalism endangering the world? New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio argued that this is a case for a nationalization, literally a nationalization, of crucial factories and industries that could produce the medical supplies to prepare this country for what we need. The Atlantic published a think piece arguing there are no libertarians in an epidemic. Mike.com joined in with a similar message, and the further left, Jacobin Magazine and The Nation, both argued that now more than ever we need to socialize medicine. And of course, such takes abound in exponential amounts on social media. This isn't just an American problem. The South China Morning Post, a Hong Kong-based newspaper that has been regularly accused of being a mouthpiece for the Chinese Communist Party since their purchase by Alibaba Group and Jack Ma, a member of the CCP, published a letter attacking the laissez-faire approach to the economy for supply shortages, along with a whole host of social ills, asking for the government to step in. The truth is just the opposite. In China, America, and nations around the globe, catastrophic government failures have allowed this virus to become a crisis, and it's businesses that are successfully stepping up to save lives. As America faced a mask shortage, Honeywell started 2 new manufacturing facilities to produce N95 masks, over time multiplying their production by 5 times. Facebook donated 720,000 such masks, Goldman Sachs 600,000, and Apple 10 million. Meanwhile, the federal government had 1.5 million of them sitting in a warehouse, incapable of figuring out how to release them in a timely manner. Jockey International expanded their production of medical gowns and donated 10,000 scrubs to frontline medical workers in New York. United Technologies donated 90,000 pieces of personal protective equipment to FEMA. MyPillow converted their call centers to help with the pandemic and converted 75% of their manufacturing to producing face masks. Similar stories are occurring around the world. In the UK, famed vacuum tycoon James Dyson designed an entirely new ventilator and manufactured 15,000 of them. In Japan, Sharp converted their TV factories to produce surgical masks. Foxconn the same in China. While the CDC was producing defective test kits in insufficient numbers, it was private companies like LabCorp and Quest Diagnostics that developed and rushed to market functional test kits. That's according to reporting from the New York Times, usually no friend to free market perspectives. It was also the New York Times that broke the appalling story of how early on in the international spread of coronavirus, the government prevented doctors in Washington state, funded by the private Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, from testing samples from people suffering flu symptoms to determine if they were actually positive for COVID-19. Both the state and federal governments refused to provide approval for weeks. When out of ethics concerns, the doctors began testing the samples illegally, they discovered a case in a local teenager. But by then he'd already had far too much time unquarantined and was likely infecting others. The teenager's school shut down, but even then the state government told the doctors to stop testing. They went to the FDA to get their test approved, but the FDA told them approval wasn't possible because the lab wasn't certified under CMS regulations. After an extraordinary and rare plea was made to the FDA commissioner, he responded that they must still submit the test for emergency authorization. But even the emergency process takes far too long, with one doctor complaining the virus is faster than the FDA, as he was asked to mail documents instead of email. Where our government has stepped in to take positive action, they've often failed miserably. The federal coronavirus relief bill provided $25 million to keep the Kennedy Center operational. Yet even with that massive amount, they laid off staff, leading lawmakers to try to claw back the subsidy. In New York, the state government experimented with exactly what Mayor de Blasio wanted, nationalizing the production of hand sanitizer. Governor Cuomo claimed they can produce it cheaper than private enterprise. How is that possible? Modern slave labor paying prisoners 16 cents an hour to produce the product. The most successful government interventions seem to have been getting out of the way. Americans for Tax Reform logged over 400 regulations that have been waived to help with the crisis, many of which it's baffling why they ever existed to begin with. That includes waiving regulations that prevented the development of telemedicine, now more needed than ever. The freeing of enterprise to fight in this crisis is a clear story of the success of capitalism. And I haven't even yet mentioned the everyday examples we take for granted. We have Amazon, Postmates, and more, making it possible to survive while social distancing. We have the internet and phones, allowing us to stay connected with our friends and family. We have computer technologies, allowing many of us to continue our employment remotely. Imagine how much worse the unemployment crisis would be without capitalism. To pick this time, of all times, to say the free market is failing us is sheer lunacy. I'm Jake Klein. For more, watch our video on Chinese Communist Party responsibility for the coronavirus crisis. Thanks for watching.